Like I was like, maybe I'll work on it after class.
And then, like, if you boil it down a little bit too far and you burn it, then it becomes not good. So it's just boiling it down too far. He's still in it too much. That's where you get alcohol.
Jobs DB MySQL. Database you trust with the power and reliability you need. Starting at $0 a month. You can't beat that price.
All right, is everybody here? I saw the Slack. Okay, Matt is there.
Yeah, you're going to have to. Instructions. There's a key. So if you go to the
All right, good evening, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started with our class today. All right. Before we begin, there were some issues. Everybody clear now? So by deploying your homework solution, Nick did mention that you have to use a JAWS DB. You cannot connect your local host. I know there was some confusion. Is everybody clear on that?
I wouldn't say clear.
But do you get the idea?
I know it's there, and I know why we need it.
Right. Why do you need it? Because you cannot connect to your local database. It's not possible. There's no connection. So you need a database that is at the same place where your app is, and that's why it was mentioned that you need to use JAWS DB. It's the same MySQL. It's just somebody else created it and deployed it in Heroku. Okay? All right. It's not an add-on. So remember, if you go to a hosting website, you buy the URL, buy the domain. They say hey, you get like 100 free email addresses and this much space, and then you get a database also, and that's what it is. Right. So Heroku, when you deploy it to something, you need a database. Every hosting website knows you need something so that you can store your data. Right. Again, because you cannot use localhost or any instance on our device, on our laptops. So the hosting side comes with some built-in databases. So Heroku comes with JAWS DB. If you're using AWS, they come with DynamoDB. That's what they call it. Microsoft Azure has their own version of database. Okay, they come with Microsoft SQL Server, some instance of it. Okay. All right. So. I was going to say something. It's kind of continuation from Saturday, but I'm not. I dread going on that side, so I'm just going to keep quiet. All right. So today is the last day for our lessons in Sequelize until Project 2. Next 2 weeks, we'll talk more about Project 2 on Thursday. Please make sure, try your best to be here. Don't stream on Thursday. We'll be creating groups, talking about the project a lot. But today is the last day for Sequelize. We'll look at some exercises. We'll do some revision in few exercises initially. And then towards the end, the most important part is, that's what we are going to look at, associations. Okay, basically joins in Sequelize, right? We've seen how to do joins in MySQL, right? When we came to Sequelize, we saw how do we do CRUD operations? C-R-U-D. Reggie, do you remember CRUD?
Yes.
What does it stand for?
It's going to be create, read, update, and delete.
Okay, CRUD operation, create, read, update, and delete. Excellent.
Demolish.
I was
Polish.
proud of you. Yes.
Desecrate. Desecrate.
For a few seconds, I thought he's going to stumble, but he actually made it the whole way.
Hello, hello.
Excellent. Oh, that's good. That's good.
It's like religious.
Yeah, desecrate was hard.
Right.
Oh, well,
Not necessarily.
Let's desecrate it.
All right. All
I'm
right.
all for it.
All right. So we saw CRUD operations. Then we looked at the functions in SQLize that correspond to the CRUD operations. So the first one, create. Ivanas, and you were helping. What's the equivalent of your C in SQLize?
Select.
No, in SQLize. Now we don't.
Insert. No.
No, okay, again, one more time. So again, when I talk about SQLize, are there any queries? There are no queries, right? We don't know what's going on. We know that it's a wrapper over queries, but when we talk about SQLize, I'm talking about what's the method that corresponds to this. What is the method if I want to insert some rows in my database using SQLize? What is the function or what is the method that I'm going to call for this one? No, in SQLize terms. Put is again HTTP method.
So in SQLize,
There are functions, right? What is a function
it's
that you're going to call when you want to do the create part of your CRUD operations? What is it? You're right, Sid?
create.
Yes, create. Yes, exactly. Right, so the
It
method-
sounded so simple. I was like, oh, it's something
Right.
else. Okay.
That was the only part left. You said put, you said. All right, so create, right? In SQLize, there are methods, and we use create. What about R? Read operations.
Yeah, so it's
Okay, now again, SQLize. Methods for SQLize.
create.
Create is one method, right? You use create and you pass in something.
Then it's select.
What about the read operations? If I want to do a read, which is your HTTP get method, right? Which is your select star from something, but I don't use select star in SQLize, right? What method do I call if I want to do a read operation? Kellen, do you know? Do you remember? Find all. And the second one is?
Find one.
Find
one. One's missing.
one. I'm not going to ask why you guys are calling. I'm scared to ask any questions anymore. All right. So find, you see, find all and find one. These are the methods in SQLize that we use for read operations. Okay. Update. What is update in SQLize? It's update, right? It's the update method. And the last one?
Destroy.
Okay.
Unity.
Everybody clear on that? When I talk about SQLize, I'm not talking about queries. There is no queries in SQLize because they have been nice enough. They have written these nice functions that we can call and expect the queries to run in the background.
Max showed me that there's a lot that you can do with like joins and tables, like connecting different tables together and matching them. It's
Right.
pretty cool.
In SQLize?
Yeah, like
Right.
you go through all of the documentation because
Right.
there's so much of it.
Right. You can actually write queries also in SQLize, but we won't go there. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can do in SQLize. Okay? But everybody understand these are 1, 2, 3, 4, basically 5 methods that you are going to use every time you're using SQLize. Right? There's no other method other than these if you want to do your CRUD operations. Okay? All right. Next, we saw SQLize CLI. I know I heard people were having issues to run it. The exercises that we will do today use SQLize CLI, but your unsolved folder has all the files that your SQLize CLI is going to create. So you don't have to run the command at all, right? We just need to understand the structure. That what happens when you do SQLize CLI and init config model or whatever. That's what we are going to see. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with our first activity. We'll start with this one and we'll be kind of building an activity, an app until the end of the class. We'll do in parts, solve the first one, and then we'll send the solution. For the next one, just use the solution and then kind of keep building on that, on top of that. Okay, we'll see as we progress. All right, so the first activity is number 11. Nick or Troy, could you slide that out? Number 11. So let's take a look at the folder structure first. All right, look at the unsolved. So we have config models server.js. Okay. You should have a roughly an idea what each folder is doing. Config should have my configuration for my SQLize. Okay. My models should be my SQLize tables. Okay, everybody clear on that? I'm putting the code that is going to create tables in MySQL in my model folder. Okay, my server.js should have my express and syncing my database and all that stuff. Okay, so if I open the config, I see config JSON. All right, it has all this stuff. So this tells me that this project has been generated using SQLize CLI. Okay, I don't have to worry about it. I'm just giving you a hint, or when I see this, because if I had to create manually, I would create a config.js and I would write the code, making connection, all that stuff. But since I see a config JSON and I see this output, so I can kind of guess that this has been created using SQLize CLI. Right? Again, we don't have to worry about creating this project. It has already been created. But what we have to do is we have to open each file and make sure the connection is good. If I'm running localhost, it's my development. All right, everybody understand that? When you deploy to Heroku or some other hosting website, then you use the production part. But for today, since we are going to run it localhost, this is the JSON object that we need to make sure it is correct. Okay, so root, I'm going to update my password. Go ahead and update your password. Database, Blogger, you can keep that one. That's the one that we are going to be using. Port is correct. Your dialect is also correct. Okay. So now I know I need to update my config.json. I'm going to open my models. I see an index.js file. Again, this is the other hint that this has been generated using SQLize CLI. So I'm like, okay, that's why they have this index.js. So this is the part that automatically builds when you run SQLize CLI. Okay. Again, you can open it up, take a look at it, but there shouldn't be any modification required in this part. This is how your SQLize is reading into your models folder and kind of figuring it out what tables to create. Okay. Again, if you open up, you will see it's Node.js code. If you want to take a look at it, try to see what's going on. We'll take a look at it at some point, especially when we come to the association. But you need this index.js in your models folder so that it can create those tables. Okay? All right, again, this is what we call boilerplate code. This has been automatically generated by SQLize. It knows what to do with it. But our responsibility is that we create all our models inside this folder, and then we have our post.js. That's one of our models. Okay? If I open this up, you will see a function has been exported, all right, and a function takes in SQLize. The parameters are SQLize object and data types, all right. Why do I have to do this? Why is it that I have to do this? Why do I have to have this function exported? Okay, you can use what? Well, remember, how do I create my model? I just have to have a model.define and have my column names and everything, right? And we are going to do that over here. But why is it wrapped in a function which is expecting two parameters? What is the significance of this? Callback? No, this is not a callback function.
It's the way that you export something, you're exposing an object, right? Something like that.
Close.
It's connected to the database, I think, but use the SQLize, built-in functions with SQLize, but also passing information. So, what
Right, exactly, and that's what the function is doing. And you are totally right that I'm using this, so I can use this object and I can create my model, right? But why do I have this definition exactly? It's not being used by APIs. Why? Again, maybe my question is okay.
I know the answer. I do know.
Okay, let me repeat this. So remember when we were creating our models in the previous exercise on Thursday, all right? We did not have this function initially, right? How were we creating? We were using sequelized functions called define, and then you pass an object, you create your columns and everything, right? Right? But I'm saying that in your PostGIS, now I see this function definition, right? This is a function definition, right? You are defining a function that is going to take two parameters. The first one is called sequelize, which tells me it's going to be a sequelized object. And as Ches is saying, I'm going to use this to create my model. That's all good. Then I have my data types, right? And why do I need data types? Because data types will have my string, number, and all that stuff. I get that.
Yes.
But why am I defining this function? Why do I have to have a function over here? Like with exactly these two parameters. I'm not going to use them. It's going to be used by not by.
Use a function of equalize or something.
Right, I have to. What is it? Not validation. No. All right. So what did I say initially? How was this project generated? Sequelize dash CLI.
Yeah.
All right. So sequelize CLI requires you this thing, right? And your index.js file over here, right? Sequelize is going to look into your models folder, is going to find this index.js file, and your index.js file is going to call all your JS files in your model folder by passing these information. So it is required by your sequelize CLI. All right.
Model.
It will find, yeah, it will find, if you open up your index.js file or somewhere, it is looking at this exact file, right? It is going to go into your models. It's going to look for files that are under your models folder other than index.js file. And it's going to call a function on it, right? And it is expecting that I'm going to pass in this and this. So there should be a function existing in your models that should be able to handle this. Okay, so this is being used by your sequelize CLI sequelize underscore CLI. So when you generate a project using sequelize CLI, right, it has your config.js and then it has your index.js file, right? And your index.js file has some code. It's not some just like randomly written code. It has a purpose, and the purpose is it is going to create, is going to look into your models folder, is going to file all your models, and it's going to create something. Okay. For that, the expectation is you need to export it as this. You need to create a function, right, which is expecting two parameters, sequelize and data types. Okay, so this is being used, but where is it being used? It's not being used by us. It's being used by index.js or sequelize CLI. They are using this function to create the models. Okay? Confused?
I mean, it creates so much of what you do. I mean, that's what Matt was showing me. Like, it does a lot for you. You just have to know how to use it.
Right, you have to conform. We say you have to conform to what the expectation is. Now, when you are creating a project using CLI, again, the expectation is it doesn't magically know what to do with this file, right? What it does is it looks at this file or any other file in your models folder, and then it goes ahead and calls a function. Which function? This function, right? So you have to kind of conform to the idea that they're expecting a function and they're going to pass in two parameters, sequelize and data type. If you do not have this function, your model is not going to get created. Why not? Because it is looking for a function, any function. It doesn't matter what you name it. It is looking for a function where it can pass two extremely important information, sequelize object and data type, so that you can go ahead and create your object. Okay. Again, we are not going to use this function. Sequelize is expecting, and it's going to go ahead and use this function, call this function, and create your create model. Okay. Again, it's kind of a small thing. People usually ignore, but please get into the habit of seeing and looking at the code and understand that why do I need this? Like, why is it there? There has to be a reason that this code exists. Okay. All right. So go ahead. We'll take 15-20 minutes. Go ahead and create. Again, let's look at the server.js really quickly. I don't think you have to modify anything over here. All right. Everybody understand server.js? You don't have to make a change, but I want to make sure you guys understand what's happening over here. Okay. Initially creating Express app. Your database require models. It's importing all your models. So this line will actually go ahead and create your models and everything. Okay. 18 and 19. You might maybe we have a post route, so it's making sure that anything that comes in it can be read as JSON from previous exercises. Line 22 to 26. Everybody understand line 22 to 26? Yes.
Why are we forcing the truth?
That was my question. I was going to ask you guys that question.
Damn.
All right. All right. But before that, db.sequelize.sync. Again, why do we have this? And then we have app.listen. Remember, I went over this on Thursday.
You want it to sequelize and connect before it.
Exactly. Everybody get that? Right? This is a callback function. And in the then function, I'm calling app.listen. So I don't want my server to spin up and start listening unless my database has been created. And what's the surest way in JavaScript? You call any code in your callback function, in your then function, then you can guarantee that this code is going to be executed once this is successful. Otherwise, it will not. Right? This is the only sure way to call that code in JavaScript, right? Because it is async. All right. Excellent. Now coming back to force true. This means is that every time you stop your server and start, right? Let's suppose if I run this, I'm going to say node server.js, right? I'm done. I stop it and I run it again. So when you run, what is going to happen? If my code is all good, it's going to go ahead, it's going to create a model, it's going to create a table in my database, my MySQL database, right? That's the end goal over here. So it's going to go ahead and create a table name called post, right? And will have some columns in it, right? Once you stop the server and you start again, what's going to happen is this code is going to go ahead and delete this table and then create it again. And it's going to do that every single time you stop the server and then start again. Why? Because you have this flag, force is equal to true. This flag is saying that if a table exists, drop that table and recreate the columns. Right? In your production app, you don't want this flag. You want it to be false. Because if your server goes down and for some reason you have to restart it, what's going to happen? All your tables are going to be dropped and then recreated. You don't want that. But we want this right now because we are building our app. We are going to create some columns and then we're going to create some columns in the next activity, maybe add some. So it's not like finalized right now. We are still understanding, we are still creating our model. But at this point in this activity, this model is not complete. We might go ahead and add something more. So we want our table to be dropped and then include those new columns also. So that's why we are saying force true. Again, force true means go ahead and delete the database, whatever tables are there, and then redo them. Okay? Again, in your production app, please don't put force true. You will have your data, everything's going to be dropped and created. Okay? For now, for these activities, this is fine. But remember, if you see that you have some data and kind of goes away, it is because you are forcing it through. You are saying that every time I run the server, I stop and run, go ahead and delete the whole table and then basically delete the whole database and then recreate the database. Okay? That's what this flag is for. I was going to make you guys look at the documentation and figure this out. All right.
It's really long, and there's so much.
Yes.
The document.
Yes.
I mean, Max was like, I learned so much because when I did the project, like I had to set up the API route.
Right.
And he's just like, yeah, there's a lot you can do with it.
Right, and that's how you learn. I mean, you
Yeah.
have to go through the documentation and see. Yes. Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and work with the activity. So go ahead and again work with the post. Look at the documentation and complete this post model. Shouldn't take that much of a time if you guys have been doing your activities. This should be pretty simple. Post model, title, body, category. Make sure you run your SQL schema, all right, because we need the database to exist before we create our table. Otherwise, it won't run. You have your package JSON. It has everything. Make sure you do an npm install. You don't have to do anything else. Everything is in your package JSON. So you have to do npm install, but not anything individual, because every time open your packages and make sure looks like Express, MySQL to SQLize, everything is there. That's what I need. So go ahead and run that. Let's look at the README. Create a post model, data types dot string and text. Okay. If you're able to successfully do that, look at the bonus parts. Should be able to kind of figure out at least some of the bonus parts. You guys looked at some of the validations on Saturday. Doesn't matter what happened on Saturday, but all right. Any questions on the exercise? Everybody understand what they need to do? Laura, you look confused. Okay. So it's the same method, SQLize.define. Root password. Updated my config. Make sure my SQL is running. Okay. My database is there with no tables. Excellent. Run npm install. Npm install. Update your config folder, files, development object. Okay, did that, and then go to my models folder and then update my models. Close. Title return undefined. So it's const user SQLize.define and then your table name. So const host SQLize.define. Okay. Table name, and then your column names. So what is the convention that you guys are using to create your table names? Is it all lowercase, uppercase, camel case? Oh, not the database, your table names. What is it? Okay. Like this.
Regular case.
Okay.
Title case.
Title case. Yeah. Alright, so the first column is called title. Okay. And then I will have some properties. Let me go ahead and stub all of these out. Next one is called body. So I have to create a column called body, and then last one is category. I'll just stub them out. Right, we'll fill out the other stuff, and then I just need to make sure that this is returned. So return my post. Okay. There were some other options, so I'm going to create those two. I'm missing here. Oh, it's outside. Sorry. Should be it's better formatting. Okay. So these options come after your table creation. So over here, like your freeze table column, you guys have been using that? Freeze, what was it? Come on, we used it on Thursday. Where's Andrew? He was the one. What was it? You don't remember? Freeze table name, and then true, like this, right? You don't remember this? So remember what I was saying when you create a table name? Host, what does SQLize do? It creates a plural table name and makes it posts. That's what it will create a table in your database. If you don't want this S to be added, you say freeze table name true. So whatever table name I give over here is going to create it exactly what it is. Okay? Remember now?
I like it when it's
Yeah. Here's the well, I was going to talk to you guys about a more advanced option which I like, but you guys are not even in the freeze table. Well, it's not.
Whoa now.
It's still good. So remember, so what are the two extra columns that it adds? ID, 3 columns. Actually, I forgot about the ID. ID and then 2 more. Excellent. So how does it create? Did anybody actually look at the column name?
Yeah, I looked at it intently.
Okay. What's the casing?
Title case.
No. Camel casing.
That was a trick.
So it creates your column names as camel cases, right? But usually when we were creating a MySQL columns, remember we were using underscores. And that's how the kind of industry standard is. People use, instead of created as camel case, you will see column as created underscore at, right? That's how you see it, all lowercase. Okay. So if you want this in this also, in SQLize, they have a option called underscored. Where did I find that? Associations. Underscored. So what it does is, if you say underscored true, instead of creating camel cases, it will create your column names as with an underscore. Yeah. So I'm going to use this option also. Underscore underscored true. Underscored. Okay. So these are, I mean, these are just two options. There are like many other options. And as Joffrey was mentioning, if you take some time, look at the documentation, it's actually one of the better documentations. You will see it has some really good options, a lot of flexibility in what you want to do. Okay. All right. So I digress. Let's go back and complete our. So what's the first attribute I need to define here?
Type.
Type, and this is going to be
String.
data types dot string. Okay.
One question on
No, I'm going to ask the question first, and then and then if that is not your question, then you can ask. Hold on. I'm not going to let this one go. All right. The next one is body type is dot what?
Dot text.
Boolean. Why is body a Boolean?
Text.
Ivana?
Text. It's text.
Boolean?
No,
Why is it Boolean?
well,
Body.
you don't need to go there.
Text. Kyle, is your question what's the difference between string and text?
No.
Okay, go ahead and ask your question.
I kind of
Yeah.
well, my question is we're using data types. In some of the documentation in SQLite, they're using SQLite string versus data types.
Why are you using here? What is this? Where is this coming from?
That's a great question.
Where is this coming from? It has to exist somewhere.
Parameter, okay.
You see it?
Yeah,
Where?
it's in the function.
It's a parameter that is being passed in. You can call it whatever you want. That's what we're using. So behind the scenes, you are right. Whoever is calling this function, they're actually passing in SQLite data type or whatever. Right. So that's why you're using data type. You can call it any name you want. That's why I went through the whole rant in the beginning of the class trying to explain what this is. So this is coming from this over here. Behind the scene, index probably is passing what you are saying. SQLite whatever. Okay. Now question, what is the difference between string and text?
String can be a number or an integer. And text can also be a number or an integer. So they're the same.
I'm going to totally ignore and then and I didn't hear that. So
I thought it.
what is the
Until I said it.
Isn't text like flat code? I mean, there's no extra characters in there. It's good.
all right, all of these are good guesses, but don't guess, just look at the documentation. It's right there. What is it, Kevin?
Anything like longer is like
Yes.
longer than a string. Anything like longer than a string.
Right.
Or anything longer than like a word.
Very long string.
It's a very long string. How long is it? Well, not the. Yes, George, you have the answer.
Yes, a string has a limit of 255 characters.
Yes.
And text has a limit of 30,000 characters.
Right. You just have to click data types over here, and that's like literally the first 4 lines over here. Okay. Right. So again, SQLite is a string. It's kind of again for you guys it might be easy to grasp this concept, but if you're coming from a different programming language, string is like virtually unlimited in other languages, so it can get confusing. But you guys, if you haven't worked on any other language, so you'll say okay. String over here in SQLite, the limit is 255 characters. If you want more than that, then you're going to use text. When you're using string, Kyle pointed out on Thursday's class, you can put a number in your brackets, right, and define how many characters you want. So this is basically varchar, kind of same as varchar in your MySQL. That's what string is. Okay. All right, everybody able to complete this post, run it, looks good, everything runs. So that's, oh, I missed the category part. Category is also a string, so I'm just going to copy this string. Okay. That should be it. And if I run this, I should be able to, shouldn't get any error. Let's see. Okay. So this should create a table. If I go to my MySQL, you should see a table called post. And we can, I don't even have to go there. I can see that this is the query that they ran and it was successful. And you see the underscores, updated add. That's why I use the underscore. It has a category, body, text, title. Okay, everybody got here? Good?
Wait,
Questions?
where is it updated at? Oh, okay. Well, because I did it already, I guess it doesn't. I'll just change it.
Well, it will change it. Remember, that's why we have that flag over there to true. So if you stop your server and read on it, it should go ahead and delete and then create new ones. Yes?
Why do we not need that sync command?
We need the sync command. That's over here. So you are calling that sync command. Right. And why are we moving? That was like our initial activity. Now this is the right way to do it because we don't want to start a server unless we sync is complete. So yeah, we do need our sync thing. All right. Questions? Everybody good? We'll do the bonus part also because it includes validation and there was some confusion. So we'll let's go ahead and look at the bonus part also.
That took a lot of TA time.
Really? For the validation?
Yeah. Well, I wanted extra. I wanted an
Okay.
He
Okay.
wanted extra validation.
Okay,
He
if
just
you
wanted
want-
to make
Right.
sure.
That I can.
Well, no,
that
but
I
it
can
showed because
understand.
it was like we put front end and back end validation. It was both
Right.
back end validation, but it was like one of them didn't flag it, but the other one did. So it was kind of cool.
All right. So the first one, flags to the title and body to prevent null values from being entered. How would we? What's the validation? How do we do that? That's not even anything new. We saw this on Thursday.
Create. It's essentially a new object.
New object. New.
I mean, like when you for each column you put an object that's validated.
I know what you're saying. You're just using the wrong terminology. But
For sure.
so it's not an object. What is? It's within an object, but it's what goes inside an object. Yes. So you are setting a property inside that object.
Yeah, but the validate itself is not. Right?
Yeah, but this is not validated. We are not even there. This is saying to prevent null.
Oh, you're just talking about number one.
Yeah, we're
I'm
on
just talking
number
about.
one.
I'm just talking about all of the bonus actions.
I'm talking about the number one. So now, what about number one?
You allow null.
Excellent. Allow null and then say false. So title and body. Allow null false and then allow null false and the body. Okay, everybody good with the first bonus one? Comma. All right, let's look at the second one. Now, Blair, your time is to shine. The validation. All right, a validation to the title so that it must be between 1 and 160 characters. Yes. Now say it.
Validate
As an object.
as an object.
Okay, excellent. All right, so where does this object go? It's within the within your creation. So right, validate, and this is an object, and it has lot of properties, and we can see where do we see this? Where's my validations? Is it model definition or model? Oh, there it is. Excellent. You see, these are all the properties. So we are looking for the length one, and there it is, length between 2 and 10. So that's easy one. So let's go ahead and use this. Okay, and this has to be between 1 and 160. Okay, so 160. Okay, easy. All right, let's do the second one. Oh, the third one. What's the third bonus? It must be at least 1 character long. All right, so exact same thing, similar, yes, not exact same thing. And then we add our property validate, and this has to be 1, so it just needs just 1. Okay, doesn't have to be a range. Okay, it can be 1 and more, so 1 and infinite or whatever your memory allows. Okay, what's the last one? Default. Okay, how about this one? Flag category to personal. How do I do this one? What is it? Michael? Okay. Michael, how do I do the default?
forget. I did this Saturday.
Yeah, there you
My brain's not there. It's okay. It's all right.
You got thrown by the JAWS DB thing?
Yeah. It's just not.
Uh,
It's just a pain in the ass.
all right, so default value, put it as personal, and these are all my default values. So I'm going to stop this, rerun this, make sure everything looks good. Yep, created. Now you see this not null coming up. All right, that's because we added that. And that should be this exercise. Okay, everybody good? Questions? All right, Nick, could you Slack out the solution for this, and we'll start the next activity. In the next activity, now we have our post model created. We are going to create our routes or create our CRUD operations. So you can use the solution from this activity. Well, actually, it should be already built into this one. And so our database is created with one table. This time we are going to now use Sequelize. Again, go through the same activity. Use this one. All right. Check your config folder again. Make sure do a npm install fresh. And then this time your post looks like it should be there. So let's take a look at our post model. Excellent. So this looks this one, John. Okay. So let's go ahead and make sure correct this. Okay. And everything else looks good. Yeah. Okay. So just a minor correction. All right. So let's go back. You will do the 1, 2. Let's look at the routes and API route. That's where we have to do our thing. So it looks like how many routes? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, 3 are get. So that should be easy. 3 are get and 1 is post. All right. Names look good. Following the standard API / post. Okay. The first one should get all right. The second one is getting by category, and the third one is getting by ID. The last one is doing the creation. Oh, we still have one more. Oh, we have all of them. All right. Delete set, and post. Again, these functions. All right. Any questions on the activity? You good? All right. Look at the previous one. This should again. If you have been doing some of the previous activities, this should be familiar, same thing. So the first route, which CRUD operation is the first route? CRUD operation. Yeah, find all. Not create.
Correct.
Which CRUD operation? When I say which CRUD operation, so I'm saying is it C, R, U, or D?
Oh, R.
Okay. And R has two options, right? Find all and find one. Which one are you guys using?
Find all.
Find all. Excellent. Okay, do I have a HTML? Oh, okay. So there is a HTML. Let's make sure this is correct. Under the config, the database should be there. So even before making any changes, make sure run this and see how it looks like. So updated my config, do npm install. Without making any changes, I'm going to run this. Okay, listening on port 8080. See what's at 8080. Okay, so this is how it looks. Okay. Yes, you should. What happened? What works? Okay. I'm going to stop this. So without any making changes, make sure you first your configs are right and everything is good. That's what I did, and this web page shows up. So this means my configuration, my setup, my npm install, everything is good. Okay, no errors. And then go ahead and start writing those routes. Oh man, I didn't use the underscore and all those stuff. That's why. Fix this. Yes. Body freeze. Messed it up. Okay, let's try this again. Post. Oh, that's better. The first one we're using read and find all. I have my variable db over there, so let's go ahead and use a db dot. My model is called post, and then dot find all. Okay. And my dot then. So make it on next line so that it's easier to see. Format this. Okay, so find all method dot then. Find all is complete, and in then function I just have to add my callback function, right? And it should have results. Let's call it results, and then I just do a response dot JSON results. And my response should have all the results, and this should go back up. Okay. Let's see. Should be empty still. Okay, that's good. No power. So it looks, if my first route is working, you should see this error message. It tells you that the table is created, there is something, but there's no data inside it. So that's why it's not, this should give you this error. Okay, so that's my first route. Yeah? Other than John, who else? Anybody else who was not able to complete the first route? Randy, got it? Okay. Reggie? Okay. You got it?
I have the same thing. I don't know if it's the complete JSON.
So you don't have the same thing.
Well, I have the. We did something on there.
Where, what?
That code is the same. What do you mean?
Did you update your config?
Yeah.
And what's the error message? Look at the error. Don't ignore the. I know those are kind of difficult to read, but at least. What's the error?
It's something.
Handle rejection. Your password.
Equalize connection with use error.
Right. Did you update the config JSON file with your root and your correct password?
It had the 30 whatever 66. And so it's listening on port. It's listening on port 8080.
Yeah, port 8080 is fine. It's not able to connect to your database. There's no, you don't have to change port number or anything. It's just updating the username and password.
That was like the first thing I did, and I only have to do it in the development one. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then your database is created, Blogger, not the table. You have to create your, but you must have created this database in the previous activity. Just make sure it's there.
See, it worked up here, and then I don't know, I was following you like here, it was working, and then I don't even know what I did. I was trying to change it. It was working, and then I was trying to change the config JSON. Totally. Well, I did all of the work in this one though. That's why I didn't go to the next one. Because like I I was just doing all the API routes.
Okay, well, and that's why I was saying that use the, but that's okay.
I can just copy that and go.
Well, it should still work over here, so. Can you copy this over?
No, well, I was doing this earlier. So
Okay, so, no, you go back to that one and do it over there because it has your HTML, it has a lot of stuff that you need.
yeah, it's like connected.
So go to the next one and do it.
John, did you figure yours?
I think I'm just saying,
All right. Make sure everybody is using the new activity number 12. Don't use the previous one. It's not going to work in the previous one. Why? Because it doesn't have any HTML. Excellent. All right. Is it working? So what is the expectation when you do this? What? So you're getting what? You're not. No. There shouldn't be any error. No. It should be working. Oh, the error. Well, what I mean is when you go to the web page, it should be saying this. Why? Because I don't have any record created. Are you on localhost 8080?
so why does your home system, why does it have a so you're on the wrong, you are obviously the you have
Right, and because you're on the wrong route. We haven't created that route yet. No. So what I'm saying is we are on localhost 8080. You have localhost 8080/blog, whatever. We haven't created anything. Just remove the blog. You're on the right thing. I know it shows up over there, but just remove the blog from here. Just leave it over there. Yes. All right. So continue on the next one. Keep going forward. Don't stop over here. So the next one is. So work on the next one. That's also a read route. Which function are you guys using? Find all or find one? For the second one. Why find one? Find one will give you one record. Can you be sure that this should return you one? You don't know. So find all with a where. Yeah, just to be sure. For sure, if you're passing an ID, I know for sure over here. Right when you're deleting, I know for sure over here. Better use a find all with a where clause. The category is a string basically, right? It's not an ID or anything. It's just a string. But if you're sure, yes, then use find all. Oh, sorry, find one. John, did you get the previous one working?
Yeah.
Okay. What was the issue? Okay. Reggie?
Yeah, I keep working other phone. That's what I always say. Get all in I don't know if I like that attitude. I can't tell. I'm feeling good.
Whenever you think you code, you realize you're not. I feel like if you're not going to sleep every night, you wake up every time you have a different.
You like basically. I feel like you're not smart. I feel like I need to know more. More than anything. I feel like I need to know more. I know. Yeah. Why not find time to learn Python?
Yeah. The best bet is jam all this in your brain. And Fosters, yeah. Cool. Just don't code for an hour. Learn Python. I'll pay you. That's what just a crazy idea.
Yeah, so like a lot of their standards, a lot of their Hello World functions are like
Is everybody working on the routes? We still have like 5 or 6 routes to go. That was just one. Did you get your figured out? We still have
Oh,
like
it
6 more
worked.
routes.
Boom! It's there now. At least it's showing the page.
Okay. Did you complete the routes?
Oh, let me see if I
There are like 6 or 7 routes.
Let me see.
Please don't. Huh? Yeah.
Boom.
There's only, I thought there was like 5, 6.
I know.
What is it? Yeah. Oh, you did it? Completed? Oh,
No, 6.
the 6. All right, 6.
They're all done.
All done?
One of the
Excellent.
experiences every year.
All right. Looks like I'm the only one who's slow. Looks like people have already completed all the 6 routes.
We even tested them and they all were done.
Done. Wow.
We got. Oh, let me see.
See, it's a. That's what I'm trying. That's how it should be fast. That just call this function and
Let me see.
find all, find one, create, update, destroy, and then.
Beautiful.
All right, we still have some time. So if you're done, please maybe look at your neighbor and help somebody out. Make sure everybody. Want to make sure. Because again, this is basically repetition, but we need to. This is the important part. If we don't understand this, if you're not able to code this part, the rest of the stuff is doesn't really matter. And you will be using this in your project over and over and over again.
Actually got it to work today.
Nice, good job.
Like complete opposite today so far.
Anything to work.
Just my presence that I have
I
to.
swear to God, it's something like that.
Don't take that for granted.
I just have to like hover over here.
Yeah, can you like next time Matt's teaching a class, can you
Always
just
be with
be
us.
there?
Just
You don't
be
have
there.
to teach the class.
Yeah, just be there.
Stream with us. Yeah, hey guys, I'm here.
What's up, you guys? Stuck somewhere?
She's getting the weirdest error. What's that?
I know, seriously.
I'm tired of helping you. I don't have to worry.
He's like, well, I had a great Saturday without you guys. I bet you did. Dude, I would too.
So there was, I switched. I had 174. I bought it.
Oh, that's your homework. Homework? No. Alright, we are doing activities right now. Please don't work on homework, please. I'm spending a lot of time over here for you guys. I'm going through the activities and solving. Please work on your activity right now. Sorry. Homework, 9:30. Alright, let's do. I'm going to do the second one, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll come back and complete the rest of them. Alright, this one is also find all. So db.post find all. Okay. Dot then stop this one out. Let's complete this one. This is easy. So function results rest.json results. Okay. In this case, so we are going to get a category, and that's what we want to search. Okay. So in this case, what do? Use the where option. all right, and where it should be an object, and then you pass in the property. Uh, and what is the column name that we call category? And then how do I pass in? How do I get the value of category from my URL? Excellent. Because it's a parameter, so request dot params dot category. Is that what's called on the front end category? Okay. So if I want to confirm, where do I look for it? In the what public folder? What did he say?
Forget what I said.
Which one? What did he say? File path? Oh no, you're right. This one, right? Yeah, that's what you meant, right? Yeah, that is where you look.
It was all free.
We
What?
don't want to look
What?
bad in your eyes.
Again, okay. Here's the deal. It is better to look bad over here versus when you're sitting in an interview. Okay,
Yes.
so please don't feel you have to look bad. Again, I'm not your interviewer. Nothing is going to happen. But it's better to get it wrong over here than when somebody asks you in the interview, "Hey, how do you type this in?"
I know how to use nodes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. Let's take a break. We'll start back at 8 o'clock. If you want a small break, take a small break. Keep it working on the next routes. We'll finish this up. But these are all are kind of similar. All right. But I want to make sure everybody completes these routes at least.
It messed me up because I did all that and I had it named something different and I wasn't even paying attention. And this one is post and I was using
Keep
blogger.
hearing that. I was not paying attention. That's right.
It was my code. I wrote the code and then I had to use their code. So.
See, that's why I make people close their laptops in the beginning because I know that's what they have. Nobody listens.
And this,
Yes.
But like I see those 4 and 5 functions stuff there, right? But then, I'm stuck on which one to use for the app.post.
You are stuck which one to use for app.post?
Yeah.
That's the.
But it's not update, right? Because it's
All right.
the one
So what does post do?
Yeah, post sends, no, what is post reads, no.
What does post do? Simple. Like when you use HTTP post,
Yeah.
what's the intention behind it? What are you trying to do?
Yeah, you're sending.
Well, you're sending when you do a get also, you're sending when you do a get also. Right? What is the function of a post?
Yeah, I said that before.
Create, right?
Yeah.
So you're creating. Basically, you are this operation and you're inserting rows in the database. That's what you're doing with the post, right? So how many options do you have for post? This one. So the confusion should be which one I should be using between this and this. Everything else is there's no choice actually.
So,
Right. Why do you have to pass 2?
Because it's equal.
Because it passes an ID in your URL and then data in your body. That's what.
A little bit of the get and post.
Right. Geoffrey, did you have a question? You were saying
yeah,
something.
well, how do you select one that? I mean, it's pushing stuff over there into the database. Now that I fixed the naming conventions, but how do I delete? Like, where am I deleting it from? Because it's not like on in the HTML. Like,
It's not there?
no. It's going to the database.
All right. So if I look at my delete route and my instructions are this is what I need to do, and I'm going to get an ID. So this tells me this from my HTML, and this is a given, right? I don't have. This is the only file I need to modify, right? So I'm going to take this hit. I'm going to create this, and then this tells me that from my front end, an ID has to be passed. So your HTML must be passed. There's no other way.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is. I see
But how do you find it? So look at your public folder and try to guess which HTML it is. Open the public folder, look through the jQuery files, and should be pretty simple. It should be a delete button, delete submit or something. So this ID should be there. So now your job is to find in HTML and let me know which line it is.
Okay, bros. I don't like your motivation.
Okay, bros, listen up. Get ready for this next part of the class. I'm here for the class.
Motivation. I need that.
Where did you figure out the first one?
Yeah.
So this is the first one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a start. Next one. Find out, but you have to pass in the category. Oh, yes.
For the jobs and stuff.
Okay.
And I mean, basically, what I'm saying is it's gonna be. So we're gonna have a command, a use command in our schema.
Okay.
And then a couple of lines of code in our. Let's see, what is it? In our connection.
Okay.
Does that sound right? As far as using JavaScript?
Yeah, you should have a connection string or whatever.
Yeah, just
So-
like process.env dot
Yeah.
JAWS. Okay.
Yeah,
But that's literally, I mean, that's what I'm looking at as far as documentation.
yeah.
So
Instead of
it's not-
localhost, you are just putting your JAWS DB as whatever the URL is. Remember,
So it says to put.
Instead of localhost,
Localhost, yeah.
instead of localhost, you are going to put, you know, when you make the connection, you have this object,
Yeah.
and then you have your username, password, and then you have your host.
Oh, I see. This
So
there's
instead
a-
of
there's an
host-
else in there. Okay.
Right. So instead of host, you are actually putting that URL,
Yeah.
and then whatever username for this URL is, whatever password for this URL is, and whatever port number they are telling you, you're going to put that.
And then you also put yours below that.
Yours what?
Your database like connection.
That's the database connection. So
you
you
don't have, you don't have both because what I'm looking at is I'm looking at it has both.
both?
Like in an else it has if if it's using JAWS DB.
Oh yeah.
And then an else statement saying
Right.
if like else then use your
Right.
own like
But when you when you deploy,
Yeah.
your local host is not going to work. The
Yeah,
else
of
is
course.
because there, if you're running your locally, you don't want it to kind of work with it, so
then
that's
if
why.
someone like pulls like one of you guys pulls it out of there then
Yeah.
and then runs it locally on
Right. Then your else condition
that's
gets
where
it.
that comes in.
Right.
Okay.
But it's not
So do you need
necessary.
both though, right?
No. Well, again, it's good practice. You can put it for now. You just make the connection. That's what's fine because these guys are going to run in your Heroku app, and look at they're not going to run locally at all because it requires more effort. Then you need to set up the database and everything. They'll check your URL, check the functionality, and then look at the code. So they should be able to figure out anyway. As long as you have the right things and you're able to connect to your JAWS
I
DB.
see an ANV file. Oh, okay, that's what you're referencing the ANV file. I got it. Okay.
Documentation that you can use instead of doing it as a string. That's not really the same thing that you do. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So where is your the first object is going to be I forget what it's, I think it's two objects that you can take. So instead of doing it as a string, you pass it in as an object where the object is a property.
We built the one to this one.
Oh, okay.
So it's probably you basically created a function on bring
Yeah, you have to take something like that. Well, so you're setting it in your controller. Well, you are. So even though it's symmetry here, the actual syntax is not making it as straight. Yeah. You could. It's well, it's doing something, but it shouldn't take this long. Is that you're passing part of the problem. I want to say maybe I can which has start.
All right, let's go ahead and complete the other routes. The first two I did. I'm going to go ahead and complete the rest. The third route, API post ID. What am I using? Which function are we using for the third route? Read, excellent. And which method? Find one. Excellent. So let's go ahead and do the db dot post dot find one. Okay, and then dot then. Okay, and let's complete the then function. So function is going to return me just one row, so I'm going to call it, well, let's just call it results anyway. It's fine. And then res.json results. Okay. So find one. What do I need to pass? I need to pass an ID. So what is it going to be? Where and then ID rect dot comes dot ID. Excellent. Awesome. And that's it. Right? Yeah, excellent. All right. What's the next one? Next one is post. Okay. Post. What does post do? Create. Excellent. So same thing. db dot post and dot create. Okay, and then dot then. So let's stub them out first. So there's no issue. And then function let's call it results, and then let's go ahead and return the results to over here. Okay, and then we go to the create method. Same thing, create takes an object, and this time what am I passing? The first is what? Title. Excellent. And then how do I get the title? Alright. The next one is body. I hate this confusing part. Rec.body.body. Okay. Everybody clear on that? Because the property is called body also on the front end, that's why. Alright, the last one is category. Alright, rec.body.category. Alright, that's my post. Anything else? That should be it for the create part. Alright, let's go to the delete. Delete is almost same as get, so that should be pretty easy. You can do a copy paste also from the get one and then change the method. So dot post and dot delete. Alright, dot then stub these out. Function results, whatever it says, just pass that back. Probably say successfully deleted or something. Okay. Alright, and what does delete take? Same thing, object, and then same as get, right? Where clause and pass in the ID. Where, what is it? Oh, excellent. It is destroy. Let me complete this and then we can modify it. So ID is rec.params.id, and this is destroy. Okay, this looks good now. Alright, where pass in because my ID is coming in params and I pass that in. Alright, everybody good? The last one. Let's look at the last one. So I'm going to do it's a put, which means it's an update. Alright, so I need to call the update method. So first, let's go ahead and stub this out and then we'll see what do we need to pass in. So db.post. So db.post update then, okay, and then pass in callback function results and then pass that back. Result.json results. Okay. Now update also takes now how does update work? So two parameters. First one is the data set. Remember the set condition, that's what you pass in. So I'm trying to set everything from my front end, my body, my title, my category. All right, so it should be request dot body, just pass in the whole body. Okay, because the body, if you look at the front end code, it's passing all the three as a JSON, so it's coming basically title, category, whatever the third column is. Okay, so this makes my set condition. All right, this is what I'm going to set. All right, now in my curly brackets my where condition goes, right? So I'm going to say where, and then update needs an ID also in addition to the body tag, right? So ID, and where is the ID now? How do I get the ID? Excellent. Why in the body? Because if I look at my URL, they are not passing in. Ideally, if I was writing this update, I would put in /ID over here and then pass in the body. But this is how the route is. We'll work with this one. So you guys are right. The ID is coming in the body. So I have my request.body.id. Okay. And that was the final. Now, if you go ahead and run this, you can add some post, create some, and should be Test, post, testing, create, route, product review, no, it's personal, submit. You see at the bottom, it's executing the create one, all right, and then it's getting using the get one so that it can show this back. So it shows up over here. You can edit, test, post, update, submit that. So this has been updated, and then you can go ahead and delete this, and this goes away. All right, so all my 6 routes are working. All right. Any questions? Everybody get how to complete those routes? Questions? Everybody good? Okay, because the next one is going to be tricky. We are going to look at associations and joins.
Wait, can you look at the delete one?
The delete one? Okay.
Destroy.
So the delete route is using the destroy method. So which part? So it's same as the get one. You're getting an ID in your params, in your URL, and then you delete it.
Oh,
Do you see any errors over here when you do the delete? It should show up if it's not working.
no. It's an executing post it's not.
Does your post exist? The one that you can look at your database. The next part is open up MySQL, look at the database, and see if the data is there. Your table names are correct. It's called post without the S. This could be one thing. The columns are what you intended. Make sure the columns are correct.
Now there's nothing in the database.
Right. So that's why it's not able to do anything. So go ahead and do a create and insert something. Okay, so that's how you kind of debug also. If it's not working, look at your database. You can look at the messages at the bottom. Try to imagine the query. Well, they're giving you the query over there. You can literally just copy this, put it in your MySQL, and run this to make sure if it is working or not. Okay, usually it might be the table name is incorrect. Maybe you forgot to put the keys part. I have underscored over here, so maybe that could be anything.
Well, because I had stuff in the database and I was like, I just don't want to know why because I was tired of starting it.
Okay, yeah, Node 1 should work. I'm
Yeah.
using it.
I just don't know if I was deleting something.
Oh.
I'll figure it out.
Okay. Any other questions? Everybody good? You saw on my page it was showing invalid date or something, and that's because I changed the column names instead of the camel case. This is my guess. I don't know. I will have to look at the HTML. From the HTML, they might be passing in a column name as created uppercase is a camel case. That's what it is. Yeah, it's a guess. So I need to fix the HTML, and that should fix it. Okay. Create. Okay. Okay. All right. Any other route? Everybody understand the update? Okay. 2 things. Body. You have the data, which is the set condition. You can look at the query over here also. It should be. There's my. Oh, there it is. Update, post, set, and then it's passing all this data. Okay. It's kind of nice thing about SQLite is kind of they already have like a console log embedded in their coding part. They kind of show you exactly what query they're running. Okay. All right. I'm going to move on. Any other questions before we move on to the next one?
I don't know. I mean, it's doing something weird just because I'm adding things in.
Okay.
And it says it's deleting from post for ID number 2. But it's not deleting.
So when you do a create, go back to your database and check. Do you see the row that is existing there?
Sure.
All right, Dante, what was your question? Say that again. Find one. Find one. Oh, it's let's see. It's probably not there. I don't see it as well. New post, because this will create one. This gives you categories and it shows all of them. Yeah, you're right. I don't see them. But when we are doing our APIs on the backend in your project, it is good practice to make sure all of these routes are there, because you never know what you need to use it. So let's suppose you add some functionality, like you have to get one ID or show up. Like let's suppose you want to see details for you show all these posts in a table. Okay, on your page, you have modified. This is coming in a table, and these are your posts. When I click the first row, it should show me. Go to the next page and show me the whole post, right? So how does that will work? You will have to use the find one, get this ID, and then show this on the next row. That's where your route will come in. So it's better to start with your all your two get routes, get all, and then get one, and then create, update, delete, destroy. Basically all these routes. Kind of keep this in mind and start with this. These are your basic route that should be there, and then like the category one, that's more specialized, because this is a use case we want to show these categories in the drop down. So then those kind of come in. But from standard, always start with your CRUD operations. So for your read, two methods: one that returns everything, one that returns one particular one. Update, destroy, create, and then you go to your specialized ones. That's always a good start. These will be fixed. Yes.
And if you put the API or locals 3D
Mhm.
slash posting ID.
Yep. It will work. It will work for all the get ones, because it shows you the JSON that you're getting. Right. That's the backend team's job, and the front end is then going to look at these routes and kind of call them accordingly. Okay. But as a backend developer, it's our job to make sure all these exist, and then if they need something else, they'll say, "Hey, I need a specialized route." Then you go ahead and create one. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and oops, that didn't stop. Let's look at our next topic, which is associations. All right, so we've seen our SQLize, how to run these operations. All right, the next segue is more natural, right? Um, we won't have one table. We'll have multiple tables, right? And when we have multiple tables, we're talking about joins. We saw in um, MySQL, right? So in SQLize, these are called associations. Okay, associations and join are the same thing. All right, in SQLize terms, we call them associations. When you're talking about MySQL, you're calling them joins. Okay, now you'll see I am going through the documentation. Right, you guys can just sit and read the documentation and do the same stuff yourself. I'm just standing here explaining you the documentation. Right, this is nothing that I have created or I know something. I have just read the documentation and explaining the same thing. To be honest, that's all it is. Right, it might be okay. It might be I'm making it simpler, but again, this is all from the documentation. All right, so let's see associations. So you see, I would recommend if you guys are on your computers, you can go to the documentation so that you exactly know where this is. So I went with the SQLize, went with the associations, started from the top. There are four kind of associations: belongs to, has one, has many, belongs to many. Okay, we'll start with the belongs to one. Before we start belongs to, let's look at the syntax that I want to show you. So any of these associations, let's say it is belongs to camel or tile case, belongs to. Okay, you will put a model name over here and a model name over here. Okay, everybody understand what when I say model name? Basically your table names. One table will go over here and one table will go over here. Okay, this is your kind of basic syntax. The table that goes over here, we are going to call it source. And the table that goes over here, we are referring to it as target. Okay? Again, everybody understand these are not my table names. I'm just saying as a reference, this is what I'm going to be calling them. So I might have a user table, or what was the table that we looked at? Post table, right? So it could be here, it could be here. But the table that goes over here is my source. The table that I put over here is my target. Okay? Clear? Right, so that's the first thing that they say in the documentation. If you look at the source and the target, I just explained you the first line that they have. Okay, they are basically clarifying that this is what source and this is what table means. All right, so we are going to look at a table that they are also referring to as a player table and a team table. And we have one more table, and we'll get to that table in a bit. Okay? So I have two tables in my database. The first one is player, the second one is team. Okay? Now, do you guys see the natural association between them? I'm not talking about coding, I'm not talking about anything, but from the concept, do you see the association?
Yes.
Right? There's a team, and the team has to have some players. Okay? So I'm going to have, now if I come to my coding part, I'm going to have a player ID, right? And then some columns. Player name, player, maybe score or whatever. Okay? And then for when I come to the team, I'm going to have a team ID. Okay, and then few more columns. Right? It's basically my ID column. I'm following some strategy, I'm following this convention. So any ID, I'm calling it player ID. This is my team ID. All right? So when we talked about joins, how do we join these two? We have to have some kind of a relationship between these two tables, right? Now, when we were looking at MySQL, we looked at the primary key, and then we looked at the foreign key concept, right? How do you associate this with this? Like, how do I, if I want to know, is it possible? There's a team, right? A team has to have some players. So this player is going to exist in some team, right? But how do I make that association? I need to add a foreign key or another column. Now, what would I do over here? What do I need to add over here? Excellent. All right, that was the most tricky part ever. So that's it. Everything else you will understand pretty quickly. Seriously, if you understand this part, that I need to put team ID over here, you get the associations. All right, everybody understand why do I need to put team ID over here? Because I need to create the relationship, and that's what I do. All right. Why don't I put player ID over here?
That was what I was thinking. But
Why not?
because player IDs are unique, players are unique when a team is.
Exactly. Right? It makes more sense to put team ID over here so I can have, hey, player this belongs to this, versus putting player IDs over here. It'll become bigger. It kind of doesn't work well. Yes.
So I thought you might have used like player, like individual player on both. Like you have a player that's a player, and then you have a player that's on the team.
So we are simplifying. A player cannot exist without a team. A player has to belong to a team. Again, what you are saying in real life that makes sense or whatever, but in this case that's not what we are saying. That a player has to have a team. It cannot exist without a team, and a team should be there. We are simplifying it. That a player, and as you're saying, player can exist individually, but in our scenario, we are going with the simplest route where if a player is there, he or she has to belong to a team. They cannot be without a team.
Okay, that's just the rule of SQL.
No. It has nothing to do with SQL. This is just a use case. I'm trying to explain you the association, the relationship between them. Right? Again, now this is going to get complicated, but if you understand, that's good. If you are saying that a player doesn't belong to a team, right? In my data, again, you guys can close your ears. In my data, what I would do, I would still create a team, and I would call it like an undrafted team or something. That a team doesn't exist basically, but it has to have the relationship. So if that player, I'm going to still assign that team, and that team would be like an undrafted team or something like, it doesn't exist. It's like a free agent.
Right. So basically, you still have to have.
But you still have to have this. There's no getting away from this. Okay. All right. So a player has to have a team. Now let's look at the first one. Belongs to. You see from the English language, what am I saying? I'm saying my player belongs to a team. Right? See the natural progression? So whenever we use belongs to, it is going to take target ID and put it in your source ID as a foreign key. What does this mean? This means exactly the same thing. It's going to go to your target, it's going to look at the ID, and it's going to put it in your source table as a foreign key. Right? So belongs to will always put the key from here into your source. That's what belongs to does.
So the player can belong to multiple teams if it wants.
Now again, use case, player is just one. It's called one-to-one relationship.
Wow,
And in our case, huh?
'cause-
Right. Again, you guys are getting. We are going to real life. First, you need to understand what this
So
is.
you can't have multiple foreign keys?
Multiple foreign keys. We can, but we only have two tables. What would be the other foreign key? We cannot have. If you have a third table and it is kind of associated with it, then yes, you can have more keys. But for our case, we only have one
So
key. Yes.
basically, if you were going, what's the scenario that you had an ID of the players, which were too many IDs, then you would have.
Exactly.
So that's logical
Right.
that you have just one
Right.
key because you want.
Because you're not crowding this table. Yeah, this is kind of more a static table. A new team comes in, this is there. I don't care about this. What I care here is now I want to find out if my team, what players belong to this team. So I would join these two and get all the data with the team ID matches, and I get all the players. All right. So that is what belongs to us. Source, target, anything you put over here is going to get the foreign key from this table. That's what belong to us. Okay, everybody good? All right. Well, that was simple. To be honest, this was probably this was the difficult part. I wasn't sure if everybody will understand this. I know we have studied this, but from your record of going back and doing exercises, I wasn't very. Yes, ma'am.
So they always.
All right, hold on. I can hear.
Belongs to one concept.
What is it?
Is it many belongs
Yes.
to one? Is that the idea?
Yes. Yep.
But if you know people in real life.
All right. Let's look at the second one. All right. The second one is called has one. All right. So what does since belongs to takes this one and it puts the ID on the source one. Has one. This is my source, and this is my target. Right? Has one is the opposite of this one. Instead of putting the ID on the source, it takes this table and puts the ID on this table as a foreign key. Okay? Again, one more time. So has one is similar to belongs to. The only thing is opposite. Remember, what was it doing? Belongs to puts the foreign key on your source table. Has one puts the foreign key on your target table. Okay? Now, taking the same example. What if I want to use has one over here for the same example? What would my query look like? What would my code look like?
Team ID has one player.
Right? So this becomes team has one player. Again, we'll come to the semantics. From technically, what this does is it puts the team ID on the player, which is what it is saying, and this is what we want. Right? So belongs to and has one are similar. The difference comes in on the semantics, right? It's difficult to say team has one player, kind of confuses people. So you, in this case, you would use belongs to. Okay? Now, but there could be other example. Let's suppose we have our, we expand and add another table, and let's call it coach. All right? Then I have my coach ID. Now, what would be the relationship between coach and team? Coach and team.
Coaches are on a team.
Right? A team can have, let's suppose, simple case. A team has only one coach, and one coach kind of goes to one team. So I can say a team has one coach. That makes sense over here, right? Again, you can use the same relationship belongs to, put it opposite. But when you're talking, when you're creating association, it's easy to say that a team has one coach. Again, it does the same thing. What does it do? Where would the ID go now? If I say team has one coach, it puts it on the target, right? Your team will have the coach ID now. Okay? Just remember, belongs to and has one are similar concepts. Belongs to puts the foreign key on the source. Has one puts the foreign key on the target. I can, whatever query I have for belongs to, I can convert it, I can put it opposite and use has one. The only difference is about semantics. Like when you talk, when you say this line, does it actually make sense? Yeah, technically it does. Technically this will be correct because it's still adding it. But when somebody is looking at my code, when I'm looking at it, can I build that relationship? Like if I flip this, you can say coach belongs to team also. In this case, it kind of makes sense. But over here, my intention is team has one coach. That's my intention. In my table, a coach cannot belong to one table. So I'm clearly setting the expectation out. I'm kind of telling whoever looks at my code, I'm telling them, well, in my database, a coach can only belong to one team. And that's why I'm kind of enforcing this. I'm saying a team has one coach. That's the difference between belongs to and has one. Okay?
Like many to one or one to
Yes. Yep. In MySQL term, as Randy is saying, if you have prior knowledge of MySQL, it's kind of a relationship to many to one, but I won't go over there. SQLize, this is what it means. Okay? Now, belongs to and has one are kind of similar. Again, remember the approaches. And then when you're creating a table, when you're associating it, you would use one or the other. All right? Pick one and use one. Make sure the intention is clear and you understand what you're trying to do. Okay? All right. Let's look at the third one. Has many. Well, it's not. Oh, it's not. you,
You can say league has many teams.
what is it?
Yeah, like a league. A league table.
What if I'm still using the same team and player? You see, now it's just simple English. Team has many players, and that is the right association. You will say team has many, and then.
So could you also do it the other way where you have, I guess, I don't know why you would, but could you do coach has many players?
Coach has many players. Again, I'm not sure what.
I mean, not that you would, yeah, I guess you wouldn't need to. But
Right, because there's no relationship between a coach and a player table.
the relationship all goes through the team. Would be to, yeah.
Right.
It's still through the team.
Right. So there's no direct relationship between coach and what you could do is if you want to say, hey, I want to, for this team, I want to find all players and all coach. So then the association is between this, and this.
Okay.
It kind of comes all together. That's what you're doing. Okay. All right. So has many, Aaron pointed out, that's correct. So these two kind of go hand in hand together. Why? So now look at the code part. I'm going to create, when I'm creating my code, how many models do I have? I have two models, player and team, right? Associations or joins kind of go on both models. You have to mention association on this one and also on this one, okay? When I'm on my player model, I'm going to say player belongs to the team, all right? When I go to my team model, when I write my code and create the columns and everything, I create an association at the bottom. I say team has many players, right? They kind of go hand in. It's the same thing. It's going to put the ID over there, but this thing is kind of solidifying that my association is complete, and in both my models have something. You need to have association both ways, right? So when I'm on my player, again in my player model, I'm creating the first association. When I create my team model, right, I code my team, I put my column names. I need to have an association which goes back to my player. And then in that case, I'm going to say team has many players. Both of them kind of have the same effect. They're going to put the IDs. But when you're coding, you're saying it's a two-way association. In this code, in player code model, this is the association. In your team model, this is the association.
There will always be both sides.
There will always be both sides of it. Yes. In this case, this makes sense because that's the relationship. In some cases, you will have has one or whatever, but you will have two-way associations. You're kind of solidifying. Yes, ma'am.
The model with team ID being the player stays the same.
Yeah. It was still the same. Yeah. Yep. Again, yeah, the foreign key, the concept is still the same. Okay. You can kind of change this to your books in a library and all that stuff. We'll see some one of the examples that we have been working with posts. Okay.
But if they have players, we're going to be on like multiple players on multiple teams, and wouldn't you have to have like one in the middle to like
Oh, excellent. All right, that is why we have belongs to many. Right. All right. So Joffrey is saying, what if in my case he's not satisfied with our model? It's too simplistic for him. All right. So he's saying, well, no, my players can belong to some other team also, and teams can have players. All right. So my player, right? Right now I'm saying that my player only belongs to one team. Now the case comes in, and I'm saying that my players can belong to more than one teams. Why? Let's suppose in soccer, right? We have our clubs, and then they have their country teams, right? They belong to both. So player can belong to more than once. Yes.
So now you're talking.
Right. Right. So a player, more than one player can belong to a team. That's the case. But the same player can belong to multiple teams. All right. All right, one more time. Now we are changing our use case. We are saying that in this case, we are saying one player can belong to only one team. Okay, now our case changes. Let's suppose soccer. Soccer, we have clubs and we have country. So a player can belong to multiple teams. So we are saying that this single player can belong to team one also and team two also. All right, and the team over here can have many players. All right. So what we call this is many to many relationship. Okay, and in SQLize this is called belongs to many. It doesn't matter you say now player, oh sorry, belongs to many. Yeah, you can say belongs to many. You can put your team belongs to many players or player belongs to many teams, right? It doesn't matter because behind the scenes, again, we are not going to use this. I'm giving you the concept. It's kind of more like a advanced level. Usually in our cases are small, we won't get to use belongs to many, but in real life it happens. So behind the scene, what happens is whenever you have a many to many relationship, right? You have to create a third column or third table. When there's a many to many relationship between your two tables, you have to break it down. You have to create a third table that kind of resides in the middle. That is how you resolve many to many. Otherwise, it's not possible to get the queries running. Right? One more time. If you have a many to many relationship between two tables, you have to break it down. You have to create a third table, and that third table will have player ID and team ID as foreign key.
So the player
Yes.
will belong to the middle,
Yes,
the team will belong to the middle.
exactly. The relationship is between this. All right. If you have a many to many relationships between two tables, you have to have a third table, right? And that is a table that kind of resolves all the conflict. And that third table is going to have all the primary keys from this table and all the primary keys from this table. From this table, our primary key is player ID, so I get player ID. From this table, I have team ID, so it gets team ID. These are the foreign keys over here. Okay. Now, when you make a query, you're going to refer to this table and then kind of make the join. Okay. Now, when you come to SQLize, that's what SQLize does behind the scene. It will create a table. I think it creates a table called player team. That's what it does. So if you use this kind of relationship, it's going to create a new table called player team by default. I think that's what it calls. Okay, and then it will have both these IDs. All right. Again, it's a more advanced one. We won't be using it. It's good to know the concept. The concept is still the same. If there are two tables with many to many relationship, you have to break it down. You have to create a third table, and the third table is going to have primary keys from this table and this table. Okay. All right. SQLize behind the scene creates a third table and it names it the combination of both tables, and then you can use that in your queries. Okay. So again, the first three are more commonly used. The fourth one is a little bit more complicated. I don't see you guys even using in your projects. I would suggest getting the hang of the first three first. Create your tables in these scenarios. All right. Make sure these are because this thing. If your use case is kind of not simple, it's more advanced because you see when our use case over here was that a player can belong to only one team. Now we are kind of coming into real life. We are saying, hey, there can be multiple players belonging to multiple teams and teams can have many players. That's when it comes in. Yes, George.
Yeah, do you mind breaking down Boston has one?
What is it?
Belongs to and has one.
Belongs to and has one. Okay, so belongs to and has one are kind of same deal. The only thing is they're opposite. So belongs to takes your source, right? Puts the key on your source model. Okay? Has one puts the key on your target. That's the difference. And again, the difference comes in more semantic. Remember, we were saying player belongs to team, and we can flip it and say team has one player. Both are from the code are correct because they're going to put the keys in the right place. But saying team has one player kind of throws you off. I mean, you're like, well, how can a team has just one player? It has many players. So we don't use has one in that case. The more appropriate would be between a team and a coach, right? Team has one coach, right? That's what the relationship is. You can flip the coach one also and say coach belongs to a team. Both are the same. It's more like a semantic, like which one is more appropriate. The difference is again source and target. Remember that. Belongs to puts the key on the source, has one puts the key on the target. Okay? All right, any other questions? All right, let's, before we do any coding, let's do this small exercise. Look at your previous examples. And in this case, we're going to have two tables, author and post. You have authors table and then post. Okay? Try to look at this and try to come up with the relationships. So you will have two-way relationships. So from the four that we saw, you're going to use two of them. All right? One would exist on the authors and one would exist on the post. Look at the documentation again and come up with a similar syntax. Say source belongs to this, which four from which four you're going to use two. So select the two ones and complete the code. Basically just write it out somewhere. And we are going to look at the code. The code is extremely similar what we have over here, but more is the understanding. So we have authors and we have post. Let me post some of the column. Let's see if we have this. Okay, so I'm going to post. I'm going to Slack out the screenshot. Okay, why is it not letting me? Oh, Nick already did. Nick, there's a screenshot that I need to send before the. It's actually in the lesson. Okay, I think I got it. Let me see if this works. Yeah, it's not in the exercise. It's in the lesson. Yeah, they have a. It's a link, but don't send the. I sent the screenshot. All right, so here's the screenshot. Look at the Slack, and those are the two tables. See. Right, this is a screenshot that I slacked out. Look at this table and create relationship. Just write it out by hand. Right? See which one is the primary key, foreign key. Make sure you understand post and author. And then we will code this out. But we are using the simple case. Author, a post will only have like one author, right? And then author can write multiple posts, right? Everybody had time to get it? Okay, so what's the, before even getting to this part, what's the foreign key and where would I have the, how do I make the join? What do I need to add over here? I need to add post ID over here. Everybody agree?
The other way,
Yeah. Well, there's only two choices basically. If this is not it, then it has to go over here. But again, do you understand why it goes over here? Right. Author has many posts. So a post, the question to be asked is, can a post exist on its own? Well, let's start with, can an author exist on its own? It can. Can a post exist on its own? No, it cannot, right? So that's why it has to have some relationship with the author. I can have an author without a post, but I cannot have a post without an author. So that's an easy formula to put the foreign key. All right, so now coming back to our relationships, which two do we pick? Belongs to and has many. Excellent. All right, so which one do I pick where? Let's do the first one. Belongs to. Post belongs to author, right? Does it follow our strategy? Does it follow the whatever belongs to does? It puts the foreign key in our source, so that's correct. All right. Has many. What about has many? Author has many posts. All right. Okay, you guys get it? So in your author model, you're going to put, in your post model, you're going to put this, and then in your author, you're going to put this. Any questions?
It has to be belongs to because that's where.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's do the next exercise, and I'll give you a few minutes. Again, you understand the concept. That's very good. The coding part, again, it's not as tricky. It's the similar function. Try to look at the documentation, look at the unsolved one, and see if you can figure it out. And then in 10-15 minutes, I'll solve it. I'll show you how you create the association. Okay. So this is exercise number 13 that Nick just slacked out. Look at the code. Start from the top again. Just make sure everything is working before you proceed, and then look up and see how you can create those associations. So let's go ahead and number 13. Okay, there's a link given to you also. Look at that example, user and task. Make sure you understand the relationship between user and task, and then just change it with post and author. Make sure my config folder, password, it's done, and npm install. Npm install. Okay, my database is still the same one, so that's good. No change over there. Let's run this. npm. Okay, no errors, looks good. Created this table. Okay. And then it says open up Postgres and AutoJS and Postgres. Postgres. And then you can look at these. Let's look at the next one. Okay. How are we doing this on? Most of the people got it? Yeah? Alright, did everybody get the same thing, password, associate, whatever, change it with the R tables, and then function, same thing, compiles works. Well, it's incomplete, we'll see the next exercise, but even before that. Author table is being created because of this thing, sequelize or define. Yeah. Yeah, association would error out if there's no table, so it happens quick. Don't move.
She was trying to take a picture, and then you changed the screen.
Oh. Oh. Which screen are you looking at? This one?
No, that one. That's what I don't move.
Oh, this.
Then he's like, wait, me?
This link is in your readme file.
Yeah, we have it.
Yeah, then. Okay.
He's like, I don't move the screen.
All right. Did still somebody working on this code? I want to make sure we have this code before we talk about it.
Not read properly.
What property?
I didn't even change anything, I just changed post. Cannot read DE model.name.
So that's why I was saying that first run it without the solution, make sure that is correct, and then start modifying anything. All right, does everybody have this function? Okay. Without even going at the code, do you understand the same relationship that we did over here? All right, just put it in the code. Now, what is going on over here? Who can explain what is this? Function, models, task.associate. What am I doing over here? Yes, sir. That's the PC answer. Politically correct answer. Very good.
She's not wrong.
She's not wrong. That's a politically correct answer you're associating. Yeah.
It's like Michael reading the definition.
That's what happened. Well, when I was in college, when we were doing post and CRUD operations, and post is always kind of difficult. I don't know why they call it post. Should be in create. Anyway, somebody asked, "Oh, what is post?" Was posting the data. Yeah.
You are correct.
You are correct. If somebody says this answer, I know they didn't understand. That is actually true. All right. So yes, I need is creating. Try a little bit harder and try to. Yeah.
Okay, so well, so SEO belongs to function and
All right. So again, I'm not worried about the you guys got the concept. That's perfect. Now from the technical, like from the coding perspective, what is this line doing? Question number 7.
okay,
It's creating an association. I get it. But let's suppose you don't know what association is. You don't know anything. But what's simple Node.js or JavaScript code? What is line number 7?
okay, you're assigning the property associate of the of,
Hmm?
yeah, you're assigning that to the function.
I'm assigning
I
that to
mean,
a function.
No, sorry. Yeah, you're setting the function to you're naming the function
You're getting there,
something that
right? George, you're getting there. Okay.
But so task selecting from the third line with the same variable, which because we supervise.
Uh-huh.
So you put your information there, and then you're connecting it to the function, and then with the parameters models.
Okay.
And then in the next line, you're merging it with the another model with its named users. So
Right.
you basically combine the two together with grabbing information from line number 3.
Again, you are also correct. You are not wrong. But I'm looking at just a simple lines and what line number 7. It has nothing to do with association. It is just simple JavaScript code.
Is it just prototyping? It's prototyping the
Maybe too complicated lingo. It's a simple.
You're too smart. Variable.
Huh?
No, I don't find a variable.
Defining a value. Okay, he's getting close. Defining. Yes, Kyle. Say it. There you go, guys. It's just creating a function. It is not as complicated. This is creating a function, and the function is called associate. That's what it is. You guys see it? Simple, not complicated. We are defining a function, and the function is called associate. It is same as doing function, give it a name and something.
It's a different way.
Yeah, we have seen this way, right? Please don't say
Yeah, totally seen it. But you know.
task is
Right, it's okay. We have seen task or associate as a why because task is an object can have functions, right? So basically you're saying, hey, create a function, associate is part of this object. Okay?
Oh.
So you are defining a function. Everybody understand this? You are just defining a function, and the function is called associate lowercase.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Because I mean, it's a variable task. So
Right.
It's function.
Yeah, and I didn't say var because this is already exists.
Yeah.
Here, right? You already declared it.
Okay.
So you have an object task, and then part of that object is a function called associate. Okay? Everybody clear on that? Here's the next question. Why is it called associate? If I'm defining a function, I should be calling this function to work. Where do you think I'm calling this function? Again, politically correct answer. But no.
If you're creating just the object, what is it if you have to always create the object?
Exactly. Why do I have to create this function? I'm defining it. I'm defining for a reason that it should be called something, right? If you look at your server.js, do you see any association?
I mean, why do you have to define object? Why would you just create it inside the object instead of adding it to the object? It seems
How would you do it? Because this is, you're calling a function, you're assigning this, and I have to assign to this. This is the I think this is the only way you can do it. The one you will try to do. Yeah. You can do like a chain, but every form you can put a dot associated with. Yeah, that's what I was saying. All right, so I'm defining a function. I should be calling a function. Now, take a guess or look at the code and see where would this function be getting called. Excellent. Index. Again, we don't have to understand this, but if I'm creating a function, it has to be called somewhere. And again, SQLi CLI, if you look at it, if you try to understand, they're calling function over here associate, so it has to be associate lowercase because they have put in hard-coded over here that, hey, is there an associate? There should be a function called associate. I'm going to call this function, and that's going to create a association.
So it's like looking for you.
That's what I was saying. Index.js is the CRUD of this thing. This is how it is doing all the magic that we don't have to do it. But somebody is doing it and SQLi is doing it for you. Again, you can just search here, associate, it kind of tells you that they're calling this function, they're passing in something, and that's why we need to have exactly the same syntax. It has to be a function called associate, you have to pass in models, and then use it. Again, good to know this. These are the in-depth kind of questions that people are looking for. Okay, I see what you have to do. You can copy paste this, it will work, but do you actually understand why this is working, or or do you know? Yeah. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and complete this code. Kyle.
I can't find the documentation on the property on
Property and what?
in the associate, that model and stuff.
It's here. If you go to associations and just scroll, it's initially when you go to associations, scroll down, relationship between this, on delete, on update. These are the options. This is what you're looking for. Yeah. So association, go to associations and do that. All right. So let's go ahead and complete this. So you guys did author dot associate, right? It has to be associate because that's the function, and this function is passing me a parameter called models, and this will be the model that I'm trying to associate with. And then I'm saying author has many. So author dot has many. Okay, and then here you mention models dot post my target table. Okay, and this should be enough to create the relationship. Okay, we'll look at some other option, but this is the basic, and this should get you working. All right. So same thing over there on your post. Let's go to post and complete that also. Oh, did I put in the? Sorry. Yes. Sorry. Otherwise, it won't return anything. So, thank you. Okay, let's go back here, and then I'm creating. Is it post? Yes. Post dot belongs to. That's what everybody came to, right? And then you pass in. Sorry, I need to create the function. Right? My function passing models. Okay. And in this, I'm saying post dot belongs to, and then I'm passing in models dot author. Okay, so we create a two-way relationship, author to post and post to author. Everybody good? Understand?
What on the author? Just author not have any
Pass in what?
model.
Yeah, that's a simple source and target. Source, target, source. Okay. Now, all right. The next, if you that's the documentation that I was pointing Kyle to. There are two functions, on update and on delete. All right. So these are extra options that you can post. This relationship is complete, but it takes a second parameter as an object, and you can pass in. Remember validations. Remember when we are creating this. So they always have some options similar to those. Associations also has some options. One of the most two common options you will see is it says on delete. So basically what it is, same thing, on delete. What do I want to do when an author is deleted? That's what this option is saying, right? So remember this thing, can can a post exist without an author? No. So I'm saying when the author is deleted, these are the options over here: cascade, no action, set default. We are going to use cascade. What it means is that look into any other table that has an association and go ahead and delete the rows from that table also. Okay. For example, if I delete my author, this post cannot exist without an author. So if you put this option, Sequelize is automatically going to go delete this, and then it's going to go to your post table, find all the author with this ID, and delete from here also automatically. All right. If you don't do it, you have to do it manually. All right. This is the best way to do it, because then what I like to call, you have some orphan rows over here. If you kind of forget to write the code or you make a mistake, you have some author deleted from here, but you have some post that belongs to a ghost author basically. So this option, when you're creating the relationship and you know that this cannot exist, all right. So on this table, the one that has to be there, you add an option called on delete and cascade. Cascade means cascade did delete to any other associations that are there. I think it can be. It's a case insensitive. Okay, everybody understand this option? All right. The next option that you will see on your post is again, this is also you will see in the task it was foreign key. Foreign key. Hello, no. False. All right. So if you had to take a guess, what is this option saying? It's for post. What's the foreign key in post? Which of these is the foreign key? Author ID. And then what is the code saying that this cannot be? Cannot be known. That's all it is saying. Right? Again, this is to stop us from making some stupid mistakes and create a row with an author ID as no. We are testing our code, we are writing something we skip, but this option will definitely enforce, and if you try to do it, it will error out and you won't be able to insert an author ID as a null. That's what it is doing. So any foreign key that exists on this table, it can never be null. That is how the case should be. Your primary keys or any key, never make it null. Never give an option to be null. Always say it cannot be null. Your primary key, your foreign key, none of those should be null at any point in time. Okay? Again, the same concept. If you put in null, there'll be a ghost author that doesn't, a post basically exists with null author. You won't be able to retrieve that row. Yes?
Does the on delete default to doing nothing to the on delete?
Yeah. Yeah. On delete defaults to doing nothing. Yeah. So you have to tell it, go ahead and delete it. Okay? Everybody good? Questions? So these are the more two common options that you will be seeing and using. All right, get in the habit when you create an association, understand what foreign key cannot be null, and then whenever you on delete cascades is extremely important. It's the best feature, well, not the best feature of SQLite, but it's a really good feature. I love it. I don't have to worry about if I delete from this, I know it's going to be deleted from here. I don't have to write another post or write another query and so. All right? Yep. Very powerful. Okay. All right. So our exercise is still not complete. Let's do the last one, and that should be again. Let's see, number 14. So now we want to see the data, right? We have our association done. We have set it up and everything. But how do we see when you retrieve the data? We need to see those rows coming in together. Okay, that's exercise number 14. Again, take few minutes, look at the documentation and see what you have to do. Again, the changes would be now in our server.js, wherever we have our routes. This is exercise number 14. Troy, can you slack out 14, please? Just keep disappearing. Same thing, make sure config is correct. Okay. The link to the documentation is there. It's literally one line of code and it should get you running, and you can run these and then see how the data is coming. Chess, do you see the routes folder? Okay, do you see how they are divided, the author API routes, and remember we were having this discussion in Slack, how do you separate out? So if you have multiple tables and multiple routes, instead of cramming everything in one file, it's better to have different routes. So I can look at the file, my author route will have all my CRUD operations, and then my post route will have all my CRUD operations. So that's a better way to divide all your APIs instead of putting everything together. If you're following MVC, these would be different controllers. You'll have an author controller, you'll have a post controller, and this will be returning the same code. Same thing, let's make sure password. This is done. Schema is still Browser, so that should be good. Do npm install. Okay, I'm going to just run this. Make sure there's no error. Okay, looks good. Navigate to post API routes. If you have the right code, you should be able to go to these links and you should see the JSON and see it before and see it after. Might be a better, let's see. Yeah, that might be good. So no code changes. It has data in it. What maybe I do? Let's see. I want to delete this also, so I'm going to return this false. Post. Create an author. Post. Select an author. Okay. So now if you go to these routes that are mentioned, I haven't made any code changes. So let's go to authors first. Okay, shows me this data, and then when I go to my post shows me post data. Okay, so we are going to make code changes and we'll see how this data changes. Well, right now they both are kind of separate. I have the author ID, but it doesn't really make sense to me when I look at the posts, right? And author, looking at this data, I cannot tell what post you belong to. We have the association, but we are not getting the data back. So we need to write some code and fix this. Did you guys get to it? Figure out what code is that? Include. Where to put it? It goes in your all your get queries. Include means that when I call this route, which you see on over here, right? I have the ID, right? But I want to include all author data also. I want this to be part of this. All right. Do I need include in my create? No, both are independent. I don't need it for update also. I don't need it for delete also. I just need it for get. When I'm getting the data that I need the join of these two tables, basically I'm saying, hey, get the author and the post that the author has written, get everything together and send me that combination. Okay, that's the join I'm doing. So as you guys said, include, so it goes right after the where clause. Find all, include. Oh, this is which not post. So if I'm in post, I want to include my author data. Okay, include. So what am I saying? When I call this route, I'm getting my post data. That is correct, which is over here, right? But I want my author data. Other than the ID, I want the whole author information also, because when I do the SQL join, remember, I'm getting rows from here and rows from here and then coming together. Okay, so let's see how this route changes. Unfortunately, it's probably deleted my whole data, so I shouldn't. So I need to create a new one, but it's okay. Let's go back here. Oh, still good. Oh, because I'm running. So that will delete everything. Let me go back and add a new author. Okay, create a new post. Come on. Select an author, submit. All right, so this is how my post was looking earlier. Okay, I made the include change. Now if I refresh it, I should get my author information also.
Wait, what did you write in terms of where?
Okay, it was in your include, in your where, after your where clause, add another property called include. And what are you trying to include? I'm trying to include the author model, okay, as an array. Put that, and it is going to create an object called author, same as your table name, and it's going to send all the information associated with it. That is what we want in our JSON. This is what I'm looking for. I call one host, one query for the backend developers. When you're doing a project, this is what the front end is looking for. They don't want to make 2 calls to get an ID and then send you an ID and get everything back. If you have 2 tables that are associated, you should send everything back. Okay, and this is called eager loading. It has a name. It's called eager loading. Okay, same thing. When I do an ID, the include, because this, so these includes go in your get. All right, always on your get routes. Same thing over here. You can do a include, and then that should give you your, when you do an ID, it will give you your author back. So same thing. Include an array db dot author. Okay. Now, when I call my author route, if I go back, I haven't refreshed it. So right now I see an ID, but I don't see any post belonging to it. If I want to do that also, now we'll switch to our author routes and then include. And then make an include in our author routes also. Make this formatting. See. Include, and then I'm including db dot post. There are the parentheses incorrect. Oh, yeah. This is better. That's why I like this formatting better. And, easy to see where I'm doing something. Okay, same thing. This is the author, so I'm including the post, and when I do a post, when I do author, it comes in my post. Same thing over here. Do include db dot post. Okay. Anybody test this out? Working? Shows both author, the post also. Because mine just got deleted again, so I'll have to. Hey, stop, trust Bryce. He tested it out, it will work. Alright, so authors, let's give me all the posts. So if I go ahead and create one more, it's going to, you see the array many relationship can have multiple posts. So if I create one more, it's going to go ahead and give me all those posts. Post 2, post 2. Authors, multiple posts, and then if I go to my authors route, it tells me what are the post values are. Okay, so just one keyword in your options, in your object, include, and the opposite table basically. All right, any questions? Everybody understand the concept? How do you do it? It's not. It is? Oh. As long as you understand, this is the most important part. The coding part, yes, it will come with practice, but if you know what you're doing, if you don't understand this, you're going to mess up the coding. You're going to create wrong relationship. It's kind of difficult to debug also, so make sure you understand this correctly. Yes, ma'am.
The result you get back is a little different than going. Are those flat or is it that like an object?
Yeah, this is the JSON that SQLite is using because your front end is expecting a JSON. How do you put it in a JSON? So you put it in an object or an array of objects. So that's why it is. Yeah, it's a typical JSON thing. Okay, any questions?
Can you go up a little bit?
Which one? So it's in your options over it. Find all over here is empty. It goes inside your. All right. Just 2 more minutes. So there is homework for next week, but it is optional. So I won't have Nick go through it, please, if you guys are interested. It's Burger 2, I think it's called.
Yeah, Burger the sequel.
It's a double double,
Right.
guys.
All right. So again, and this homework, please check bootcamp spot. But I think the optional one is due next Saturday. It's not next Tuesday. Make sure the date. If you are doing it, again, it's optional. I saw from the constructor one, zero submission. So yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I have no hopes at all. All right. The other thing is, all right. So Thursday is important. We'll be kicking off project 2. Please make sure, try your best to be in the class, no streaming, to be in groups. We'll be doing what are the requirements, and by the end of the class, you guys will be coming up with projects. So the next 2 weeks, it's project week 15, week 16 and 17. Okay? You will have it on Thursday.
What are our teammates?
Well, we'll talk. I want to leave something on. We already did Game of Thrones.
I need a high note.
All right, no spoilers. I've seen everything. All right, hold on. There's no. Yeah, Saturday and Tuesday for Memorial Day. That guy, you have 2 extra days. Okay.
A whole lot of time.
Yeah, no, but I thought it's like I have a bit. We'll get assigned the groups already.
Yeah. You will have groups assigned and everything on Thursday ready to go. And if you don't see each other, that's basically your problem. You guys need to see each other on projects. Okay. Priorities, up to you guys.